Before time had a beginning, before history learned how to record itself, something placed memory inside you. Not symbolic memory, not imagination. Real biological recall encoded into your DNA from an age that doesn't exist on any timeline. You've felt it as sudden familiarity with ancient truths, as the sense that this world is staged, incomplete, slightly wrong. That feeling isn't confusion, it's activation. Most people will live their entire lives without ever touching this layer of themselves. But if you're here, it's because something older than your name is starting to wake up. This video doesn't give you knowledge. It triggers remembrance. And once DNA memory from the time before time begins to surface, there is no going back to who you thought you were. Before the first recorded civilization, before written language and structured belief systems, something extraordinary occurred. A subtle, invisible imprint was placed into human consciousness, encoded not in stories, not in doctrines, but directly into your biology. This is the memory from the time before time, a knowledge that transcends personal history, family lineage, or cultural identity. It is lodged deep within your DNA, dormant, waiting for the precise conditions to awaken. What you have always sensed as unease, as longing, as that unshakable feeling that something about this world is off, is not an accident. It is your own memory attempting to reach through the veil of constructed reality, a signal from a time your mind cannot measure. You may have experienced fleeting moments of familiarity with things you have never learned, a phrase that seems to resonate far beyond language, a symbol that evokes inexplicable understanding, or a place that feels like home even though you've never been there. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of your pre-temporal consciousness, fragments of a reality that existed before material existence, before the constructs of matter and time constrained awareness into linear perception. Humanity was never meant to forget this. Yet, the vast majority of the species moves through life disconnected from this innate recall, their attention captured by distractions, conditioned narratives, and systems designed to sever memory at its root. The ancient mystery traditions understood this. Long before recorded history, beings who walked the earth as pneumatic consciousness, those who carried within them the spark of the source, preserved techniques to awaken the memory encoded in your DNA. These methods were never intended as religious rituals. They were functional, precise activations. They used vibration, breath, intention, and subtle energetic alignment to pierce the layers of amnesia imposed by material reality. And the reason this knowledge was hidden, then partially fragmented through the ages, is the same reason most people remain blind today. The guardians of structured reality, the controllers of perception, understood that once you awaken this memory, your life can no longer be manipulated by superficial authority. Let's pause to consider what this time before time actually represents. Imagine a state of being where consciousness exists without form, without limitation, without linear cause and effect. There are no names, no identities, no cultural frameworks. Everything is pure awareness, undivided, infinite, and whole. This is not a metaphorical or poetic idea. It is the original template of your consciousness. Before you were born, before your first thought, before the matrix of reality as you know it, your awareness existed as an unbroken strand of intelligence. That strand carries with it information, patterns, and memory. It is these imprints that the ancients referred to as the primordial code, the essence of who you are before the world told you otherwise. Modern science is beginning to glimpse a shadow of this reality through epigenetics and quantum biology. DNA is not just a biological code. It is a repository of information, capable of storing experiences, patterns, and even non-local knowledge. The ancients intuitively understood this principle long before laboratories could measure it. Within every cell of your body is the architecture of memory beyond your personal life. Every heartbeat, every neuron, every strand of DNA carries whispers from the time before matter itself was drawn into form. Your body remembers what your mind has forgotten. And this memory is not passive, it is waiting for conditions to awaken it. The awakening begins with recognition. Recognition that there is more to your existence than the physical, more to your mind than the thoughts it habitually recycles. The first step is awareness of the signal itself. The feeling that reality is a construct, that your consciousness is observing a world it did not create, and that you carry a spark of something far greater. Most people feel this, but few act upon it. They attribute it to existential angst, childhood trauma, or philosophical curiosity. But the truth is far more radical. It is an encoded invitation to remember, a personal call to reconnect with the source of your own being. Here's how you can begin. Sit in quiet stillness. Place your hand over your heart, not the physical organ, but the energetic center that houses the spark of consciousness. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. With each inhalation, imagine drawing memory inward. With each exhalation, release distraction, fear, and doubt. Then, internally acknowledge, I remember. I am more than this form. I am not bound by what I see. I carry the memory of all that existed before time itself. These words are not affirmations to manifest something. They are keys to recognition. When spoken with sincere intent, even silently, they begin to unlock dormant pathways within your DNA. Pathways that have remained sealed by millennia of forgetfulness. This activation is subtle at first. Many report warmth in the chest, a tingling along the spine, or a feeling of depth and gravity shifting within their consciousness. Others feel a profound sense of longing as layers of amnesia dissolve. These sensations are the earliest markers that the DNA memory is beginning to awaken. But understand this: the process is cumulative, gradual, and requires consistency. It is not instantaneous enlightenment. It is the re-establishment of connection with your pre-temporal self, a threading together of consciousness across dimensions, timelines, and lifetimes. To understand why this memory was hidden, and why it seems inaccessible to most people today, we must examine the nature of control within material reality. Consciousness, when ignorant of its own origins, is easily manipulated. This manipulation is subtle and pervasive, operating through societal structures, belief systems, and even spiritual frameworks. Humanity was designed to forget its origin, to live under assumptions that external authorities, whether religious, governmental, or social, hold dominion over destiny. By suppressing the awakening of DNA memory, control could remain unchallenged. The moment an individual recalls the time before time, their perception shifts irreversibly. They begin to see the constructs of reality for what they are: temporary, manipulable, and ultimately subordinate to the infinite awareness from which they emerge. The ancient teachings describe this with precise language. They distinguish between the physical self, the mental self, and the pneumatic self, the part of you that retains unbroken connection to source consciousness. Your pneumatic self is what remembers, before time, before identity, before limitation. It exists outside the mechanisms of cause and effect that dominate the material plane. And every moment of disconnection, every cycle of fear or suffering, represents interference not from a distant God punishing you, but from the very systems and programs embedded in reality to obscure this memory. These were called the archons by the Gnostics. Entities, patterns, and mechanisms designed to keep your attention fragmented and your consciousness trapped. This may feel unsettling. You are being asked to reconsider everything you've been told about who you are, the purpose of life, and the nature of reality. But it is precisely in this discomfort that awakening begins. The signal of DNA memory from the time before time does not negotiate. It does not compromise. It calls you forward with the authority of truth embedded in your very being. The initial step, recognition, creates resonance with these deeper frequencies. Once resonance is established, further activations amplify, drawing more of your pre-temporal memory into conscious experience. The first layer of activation is awareness of your spark, your core essence. The second layer involves releasing consent to false authority. These are not abstract exercises. They are practical, energetic recalibrations. You are reprogramming the default assumption of consciousness. Instead of defaulting to the external matrix, your mind begins to default to inner memory, to ancestral intelligence, to encoded wisdom that predates linear history. Over time, this shifts perception itself. Decisions become more intuitive, synchronicities become undeniable, and the old world of cause and effect, limitation, and external control begins to appear like a set of illusions you once accepted as real. But there is more. DNA memory carries not just understanding but capability. It is the template of potential you arrived with before incarnation, before the amnesia of birth. This includes insights into your own physiology, cognition, and spiritual capacities. The ancients described it as activating the original code, not programming yourself to be better, but remembering what you always were. The awakening process, therefore, is not a learning curve. It is a remembering curve. And the more fully you engage with it, the more reality itself begins to respond. To prepare for this awakening, a few practices are crucial. First, cultivate stillness. Without the ability to listen, the pretemporal signal cannot reach consciousness. Second, cultivate discernment. You will begin to perceive the influence of external programs attempting to masquerade as insight. Third, commit to daily recognition, however brief. Even a single, sincere acknowledgement of your memory, your spark, is enough to shift resonance. At this stage, subtlety is key. You may notice changes in perception before changes in circumstance. Light may appear brighter, sound more distinct, thoughts more cohesive. Moments of déjà vu will intensify. Dreams may begin to carry vivid instructions or information seemingly from beyond your personal experience. These are not fantasies, they are the DNA memory speaking, beginning to stitch the time before time into your conscious awareness. Finally, understand this. Awakening is not about separating yourself from life in the material world. You will still engage with it, still face challenges, still encounter distraction. The difference is that your consciousness will operate from a fundamentally different center. From this center, you are no longer a passive participant. You are no longer responding to programs designed to harvest attention and energy. You begin to navigate life in alignment with the pre-temporal intelligence encoded in your DNA. Your decisions, relationships, and creative output begin to carry a depth and precision that was previously impossible. By the end of this first stage, your spark is recognized. Your DNA memory begins to stir, and the first cracks appear in the illusion of linear reality. You will not forget this sensation. You will notice the world has shifted subtly, even if external circumstances remain unchanged. And this shift is permanent. Once awakened, the time before time becomes an ever-present guide, a living intelligence within you that can be accessed again and again. As this awakening deepens, you begin to notice that the world around you responds differently to your presence. Situations that once seemed random now carry patterns that are meaningful, subtle signs that your consciousness is reconnecting with its original blueprint. You may feel sudden clarity in decisions that previously felt muddled, as if a hidden intelligence is guiding you from within. Conversations begin to flow differently. Encounters with people, places, and even events no longer feel arbitrary. They are aligned with your inner resonance. These are not coincidences. They are markers of your DNA memory integrating with your conscious awareness, a subtle orchestration revealing the logic and purpose embedded in the time before time. The sensations are often profound yet quiet. A subtle warmth behind the sternum, a tingling along the spine, or an expanded sense of presence that makes familiar spaces feel simultaneously intimate and infinite. Your perception of time itself may begin to shift. Moments can stretch or compress, revealing that the linear experience you once relied on was never a fixed parameter, but a construct shaped to limit awareness. Through this, you begin to experience reality more as a web of interconnected consciousness rather than a sequence of isolated events. You may also encounter vivid dreamscapes or spontaneous flashes of memory that seem impossible. These are not products of imagination, they are fragments of pre-temporal experience, surfacing to remind you of what was always true. The more you acknowledge and interact with these moments, the stronger the resonance becomes. Your DNA begins to hum with recognition, and subtle faculties, intuition, perception, energetic sensitivity begin to amplify. You start to feel what the ancients described as a thread to origin, a living connection to the intelligence that preceded the material universe. It is not something to attain or earn. It has never left you. All that is required is recognition, openness, and the willingness to let these frequencies awaken without interference. As the memory from the time before time begins to surface, you may notice subtle changes in perception, thought patterns, and energetic awareness. These are not illusions, they are the first indicators that dormant layers of your DNA are responding to the signal you have begun to acknowledge. What you are experiencing is far deeper than intuition or imagination. It is pre-temporal intelligence asserting itself within your conscious mind. For centuries, this knowledge was deliberately obscured. But now, the codes embedded in your biology are ready to be awakened, one by one. The process begins with attuning to your own energy. Most people live their lives completely unaware of the subtle currents that flow within and around them. These currents, however, are the very fabric of pre-temporal memory. Your DNA carries vibrational information, not only about your ancestry and personal history, but about archetypal patterns that existed long before your current incarnation. These patterns encode not only who you are, but who you have always been, and what you are capable of remembering and becoming. To access these codes, begin by stilling the mind. Daily practices of meditation, breathwork, and focused attention are not rituals for calmness alone. They are tools to quiet the noise of the programmed consciousness that dominates your environment. The noise is constant. Thoughts, opinions, societal expectations, and distractions designed to fragment your attention. When you can sit quietly and observe without judgment, you create the space for pre-temporal memory to emerge. Place your hand once again over your heart center, the seat of your inner spark. Feel the energetic space behind your sternum. Allow it to expand as you inhale, creating room within your awareness for the awakening process. Now, introduce a second layer of focus. Begin to sense your own energetic signature, the vibration of your consciousness in this moment. This signature carries subtle imprints of your pre-temporal self, and by directing conscious attention to it, you activate dormant codes within your DNA. You may notice warmth, tingling, or a sensation of expansion throughout your chest, arms, or head. These are not random sensations. They are the physical manifestation of consciousness reconnecting with itself, aligning with frequencies that predate the material world. At this stage, it is crucial to differentiate between authentic signals from your awakened DNA and residual programming that attempts to masquerade as insight. The ancient teachers referred to these distortions as interference patterns. They exist in every human mind, often appearing as self-doubt, fear, or compulsive distraction. For example, just as you begin to sense the subtle hum of your pre-temporal awareness, a thought may arise. You are imagining this. You don't know what's happening. This is interference, designed to pull your attention outward and away from your inner source. Recognizing these patterns is a vital step. Observe them without judgment, label them, and gently return focus to your energetic center. As you deepen this practice, certain memories or sensations may surface images of landscapes, symbols, or structures you do not recognize consciously, yet feel intimately familiar. These are encoded templates from the time before time, fragments of consciousness recalling the geometry and vibrational architecture of existence before form. Ancient civilizations, particularly in Egypt and Mesopotamia, preserved echoes of these templates through symbols, myths, and sacred architecture. They were not merely artistic expressions. They were energetic keys meant to trigger memory within those capable of perceiving beyond the material veil. When your DNA resonates with these frequencies, you begin to perceive hidden layers of reality, subtle structures that govern both matter and consciousness. Another activation arises through sound and vibration. Your voice, the tone and clarity of your speech, carries encoded energy that interacts with your DNA. The ancients understood that sound is not merely a tool for communication, it is a vehicle for resonance, capable of unlocking dormant memory. Even a simple spoken phrase, when aligned with intent and recognition, can amplify the awakening of pretemporal intelligence. Start by choosing a short phrase, spoken aloud or internally, that affirms your connection to memory. I remember who I am. I carry the wisdom before time. Repeat it slowly, allowing each word to resonate within your chest, throat, and mind. Notice how your body responds. This vibration interacts with dormant DNA pathways, gradually awakening layers of memory that have been inactive for eons. At this point, it is common to experience subtle shifts in perception. Ordinary objects may seem infused with significance. Colors may appear richer, sounds more layered, and spatial awareness more fluid. These shifts are markers that your consciousness is recalibrating to pretemporal frequencies. You are beginning to perceive reality not as a static landscape, but as a dynamic field of energetic information, responsive to your awareness and intention. The next stage involves consciously navigating memory itself. As fragments surface, do not rush to interpret them with logic or linear thought. Memory from the time before time is nonlinear, multidimensional, and often paradoxical. It communicates through symbols, sensations, and insights that may initially seem disjointed. The ancients referred to this as the language of essence, a form of communication that predates words, concepts, and ego-based reasoning. Trust the sensations, images, and intuitive hits. They are fragments of a larger structure waiting to be reconstructed within your conscious awareness. An essential practice in this stage is what the ancients called resonance alignment. This involves intentionally harmonizing your consciousness with the subtle vibrations of your DNA memory. Begin by focusing on the areas of the body that feel most alive, with energy, heart, solar plexus, throat, or third eye. With each inhalation, imagine drawing energy upward from the core of the earth, through your body, and into these centers. With each exhalation, allow tension, distraction, or fear to release, creating a conduit for pretemporal intelligence. You are not creating energy, you are aligning with energy that already exists, awakening structures within yourself that have never truly been dormant. As this resonance deepens, the pretemporal memory begins to encode itself into your conscious decision-making. Intuition becomes sharper. Life situations unfold with subtle synchrony. People, circumstances, and opportunities align in ways that feel orchestrated, though the orchestration originates from your own awakened consciousness, not external forces. You may notice previously confusing events now carry clarity, and challenges that once seemed insurmountable reveal pathways previously invisible. A critical component of this activation involves release. As memory awakens, it will encounter residues of limiting beliefs and fears carried through lifetimes. These are patterns that have been embedded to obscure recognition. Observe them without attachment. Each thought, fear, or sensation that arises is not inherently yours. It is part of the accumulated interference that pretemporal memory helps dissolve. Allow these patterns to surface, acknowledge them, and release them through breath, intention, or vibration. This release is a necessary clearing, creating space for deeper layers of memory to integrate. Through this process, the boundary between past, present, and future begins to dissolve. You will perceive time as layered rather than linear. Insights may arise as if they have always existed outside of your current experience, yet they feel intimately yours. This is the hallmark of pretemporal memory fully awakening. It carries not only knowledge, but the capacity to operate across dimensions of consciousness, integrating what was once separate into a coherent awareness of self and universe. As these activations deepen, your DNA memory begins to influence the physical body as well. You may notice subtle improvements in vitality, energy, and perception. The body itself remembers the intelligence embedded within your consciousness, responding to resonance and alignment. This is not metaphorical, it is a literal recalibration. Cells, neural pathways, and energetic structures awaken in synchrony with the intelligence encoded in your DNA from the time before time. The effects extend beyond the individual. As your consciousness awakens, It resonates outward, subtly affecting the collective field. Other people, environments, and circumstances begin to reflect this elevated frequency. Synchronicities increase. Encounters with people who carry complementary intelligence become more frequent. The very structure of your interactions with reality begins to shift, guided by an intelligence far older than your current identity. By now, the awakening is no longer just an internal experience. It is a full-body, multi-dimensional process. You are beginning to operate from a center of consciousness that remembers the time before time, a self that is neither entirely of the material world nor entirely separate from it. You are a living bridge between the encoded intelligence of pre-temporal existence and the reality you currently navigate. The process requires patience, awareness, and consistent practice. There are moments of challenge resistance from ingrained patterns, interference from habitual thought loops, and discomfort as memory integrates into physical and energetic systems. These are signs of progress, not failure. Each obstacle dissolves as consciousness aligns more fully with its original blueprint. At this stage, you are learning to navigate existence with awareness of your pretemporal self. Every decision, every interaction, every choice carries the potential for deeper resonance. You are no longer bound by unconscious patterns or imposed authority. You are beginning to operate with the guidance of the intelligence embedded in your DNA, the memory that existed before time itself, allowing you to move through life with clarity, purpose, and alignment. As this deeper resonance unfolds, you may notice that your awareness begins to perceive the subtle frameworks underlying reality. These frameworks are not visible to the untrained eye, nor are they accessible through conventional logic. They exist as energetic and informational structures, patterns that pretemporal intelligence encoded into the matrix of existence. Your DNA memory, now awakening, acts as a key, enabling you to navigate these layers with increasing precision. Moments of insight no longer feel like fleeting coincidences. They are communications from your own higher dimensional self, guiding you through the intricacies of this reality with a wisdom that predates time itself. You may begin to experience what the ancients described as frequency alignment, where your inner vibrations match those of pretemporal consciousness. When this alignment occurs, ordinary experiences transform into profound learning opportunities. Every interaction, every challenge, every seemingly mundane event carries encoded instructions meant to accelerate the awakening of memory. It is as if reality itself becomes a teacher, providing direct feedback to your consciousness, allowing you to recalibrate, refine, and expand in ways previously inaccessible. At this stage, trust becomes essential. Trust in your perception, trust in your body, trust in the subtle signals emerging from your DNA. Your body remembers the intelligence you carry. It responds, adapts, and recalibrates based on your conscious recognition. You may notice spontaneous shifts in energy flow, heightened sensitivity to sound, color, and texture, and a newfound clarity in thought processes. This clarity is not intellectual alone. It is a holistic understanding that integrates mind, body, and consciousness into a single, coherent field of awareness. Another critical aspect is the awakening of your intuitive faculties. The memory, embedded in your DNA, begins to re-establish communication with aspects of your consciousness that were dormant or suppressed. Dreams become more vivid, often carrying symbolic or literal insights from the time before time. Synchronicities may appear with increasing regularity, signaling that your actions and intentions are harmonizing with pre-temporal intelligence. You may even encounter sudden flashes of knowledge, skills, insights, or understandings that feel innate yet are entirely new to your conscious mind. These are not learned, they are remembered. Integration is key. The awakening of pretemporal DNA memory is not an abstract experience, it manifests in daily life, influencing decision-making, relationships, and creative expression. You begin to notice the difference between actions taken from habitual conditioning and those inspired by higher consciousness. Each choice aligned with this memory strengthens your resonance, creating a feedback loop that accelerates awakening. The more you act from this aligned state, the more your reality begins to reflect the intelligence encoded in your DNA, and the clearer the pathways to higher awareness become. Resistance may appear, often subtly, Doubts, fears, or distractions may surface, attempting to pull your consciousness back into familiar but limiting patterns. These are natural responses from the layers of programming embedded in your psyche, remnants of systems designed to obscure your true memory. Recognize these intrusions without judgment, and return attention to your resonance. Each time you do so, you reinforce your connection to pretemporal intelligence, reclaiming authority over your own consciousness and accelerating the integration process. As you continue to navigate this awakening, begin to experiment with intentional energetic exercises. Visualize your consciousness expanding beyond the confines of time and space, interacting with the dormant memory within your DNA. Sense the threads of continuity that stretch from your current existence to the time before time, feeling the unity of all aspects of yourself across dimensions and lifetimes. Allow these sensations to deepen and solidify, embedding the pretemporal memory more fully into your daily awareness. This phase of activation is also a profound invitation to release attachment to outcomes. The awakened DNA does not operate through effort or desire for results. It responds to recognition, alignment, and presence. By letting go of the need to control or predict, you allow the memory to unfold naturally, guiding your consciousness toward experiences and insights that align with your highest self. This surrender is not passivity. It is the conscious acknowledgement that you are operating from a higher intelligence that understands the architecture of reality far beyond your linear perception. Finally, begin to recognize your own agency in this awakening. You are not merely a passive recipient of pretemporal memory. You are an active participant in its integration. Every breath, every moment of focused awareness, every intentional act strengthens the resonance of your consciousness with the intelligence embedded in your DNA. The more consistently you engage with this process, the more permanent and profound the integration becomes. This is the stage where memory and conscious action merge, creating a living, dynamic connection to the time before time, allowing you to navigate life not from limitation, but from the infinite intelligence that has always been your origin. As your DNA memory continues to awaken, a profound sense of alignment begins to settle into your awareness. The sensations, insights, and synchronizations you've experienced are no longer fleeting. They are establishing new neural and energetic pathways that integrate pretemporal intelligence directly into your conscious reality. At this stage, you begin to perceive not only the hidden structures of existence, but also your capacity to interact with them intentionally. Every thought, action, and choice carries resonance and potential that extends far beyond the linear frameworks you once relied upon. This is the moment where integration becomes essential. All the activations, resonance alignments, and recognition practices you've engaged in serve a single purpose: to embed the intelligence of pretemporal consciousness fully into your being. Your awareness is now capable of distinguishing between layers of reality that were previously indistinguishable. You may notice, for instance, how certain circumstances, relationships, or challenges that once felt chaotic now carry subtle guidance or hidden opportunity. These patterns are reflections of your DNA memory, responding to the alignment of your conscious will. One of the most transformative realizations at this stage is understanding the nature of time and causality itself. Pretemporal memory does not operate linearly. It exists outside of past, present, and future. When you consciously access this intelligence, you gain a sense of simultaneity, the understanding that potentialities exist all at once, and your choices ripple through multiple layers of existence simultaneously. Decisions you make from this place of awareness are no longer reactions. They are expressions of an inherent intelligence that knows the architecture of reality before time itself. With this understanding comes responsibility. Your consciousness now has access to subtle fields that can shape both your own experience and the energetic landscape around you. Every interaction, every choice, and every thought carries amplified significance. The ancient teachers caution that this is not a tool for ego-driven control or manipulation. Instead, it is a capacity to navigate life with clarity, sovereignty, and aligned purpose. You are no longer merely subject to circumstances. You are a conscious participant in the unfolding of your reality, guided by the intelligence encoded in your pre-temporal DNA. To anchor this integration, begin a daily practice of conscious observation and resonance alignment. Each morning, place your hand over your heart center and allow your awareness to expand through your chest, sensing the energetic space where your DNA memory resides. Visualize your consciousness extending beyond the confines of your body, interfacing with the pre-temporal intelligence embedded in every cell. As you breathe, feel these layers harmonizing, establishing continuity between your current awareness and the eternal intelligence of your origin. This practice primes your system to respond intuitively and accurately to subtle cues throughout the day. Another critical activation involves intentional vibration. Sound, tone, and speech are powerful vehicles for reinforcing pre-temporal memory. Recite a simple declaration aloud. I am aligned with my pre-temporal intelligence. I act from recognition, not reaction. Let the vibration of these words reverberate through your chest, throat, and mind. This is not merely affirmation. It is a physical and energetic reinforcement of the pathways that awaken and stabilize your consciousness. Your voice interacts with your DNA and the surrounding energetic field, creating a feedback loop that strengthens your connection to the intelligence that existed before time. Integration also requires discernment. As your awareness expands, you will inevitably encounter layers of interference thoughts, emotions, and environmental factors designed to pull attention away from pre-temporal intelligence. Recognize these intrusions for what they are, signals that your consciousness is reasserting control over previously unconscious territory. Do not resist harshly, nor become attached to them. Observe, label, and release. This practice is essential for consolidating activation, ensuring that the resonance of pre-temporal memory is not diluted by residual programming or energetic disruption. At this stage, intuitive perception intensifies. You may begin to notice patterns of synchronicity that defy logical explanation, as though reality itself is responding to your alignment. Numbers, coincidences, and encounters may appear in ways that feel orchestrated, yet originate from the intelligence within your own DNA. These experiences are markers, not distractions. They indicate that your consciousness is actively interacting with the multidimensional layers of existence, accessing memory that predates the physical universe and manifesting its wisdom in real-time experiences. The third key to full integration involves the embodiment of this intelligence. Pre-temporal memory is not an abstract or distant concept. It exists as a living, breathing, energetic system within your body. The heart center, brain, and cellular structure all serve as nodes of resonance. As you engage with this intelligence, you may notice enhanced sensory perception, heightened intuition, or even subtle shifts in physical abilities and awareness. These are natural responses to the alignment of your consciousness with the primordial intelligence embedded in your DNA. Now comes the stage of active consciousness application. With memory integrated, you are capable of operating from a state that transcends habitual patterns. Every choice can be guided by the intelligence that existed before linear time, creating opportunities for more fluid navigation of life, relationships, and personal growth. This is where pre-temporal memory transforms from potential into practical mastery. You act in alignment with the deepest intelligence of your own origin, rather than reacting to external conditions or inherited programming. One of the most profound shifts at this level is the dissolution of fear-based perception. When consciousness is anchored in pre-temporal memory, limitations that once seemed absolute scarcity, failure, judgment, separation begin to dissolve. You start to operate from abundance, possibility, and unity, because you are no longer confined to linear causality or externally imposed authority. This liberation is not a philosophical idea. It is a tangible shift in how your consciousness experiences, interprets, and interacts with reality. At this point, it becomes clear that awakening DNA memory is not a solitary process. Your resonance now subtly affects the collective field. Others around you, even unconsciously, respond to your energy, sensing the alignment and intelligence flowing through your presence. This is why your journey, though intensely personal, also holds influence over the wider energetic landscape. It is not about control. It is about embodying a frequency that naturally inspires coherence, insight, and awakening in those ready to receive it. To consolidate this integration, practice what the ancients called living memory alignment. Throughout your day, intermittently check in with your energetic centers and DNA resonance. Feel the vibrational patterns of pretemporal intelligence coursing through your awareness. Observe how this resonance affects your perception, decision-making, and interactions. Allow the memory to guide your actions, not as a script, but as a living intelligence that adapts, responds, and flows in harmony with your environment. Finally, understand that this is only the beginning of a new phase of existence. As your DNA memory becomes increasingly active, your awareness will continue to expand across dimensions and timelines. Your life will no longer be a series of random events. It will become a tapestry woven by conscious choice and recognition, guided by intelligence that existed before the material universe. The potential is infinite, and the journey is ongoing. The practical implications are profound. You are no longer bound by cycles of limitation, fear, or unconscious repetition. Your consciousness operates from pretemporal intelligence, navigating existence with clarity, sovereignty, and alignment. Each moment becomes an opportunity to embody the knowledge and wisdom encoded in your DNA, living not as a passive observer, but as an active participant in the unfolding of reality itself. If you are ready to fully embody this activation, commit to daily recognition practices, intentional vibration, and alignment exercises. Allow your DNA memory to integrate naturally. Trust the signals from your consciousness and release all interference. Share these insights with others who resonate, but focus primarily on your own embodiment. Your awakening is the catalyst for a broader ripple effect, not through force or persuasion, but through the living presence of your consciousness aligned with pretemporal intelligence. Take a moment now and affirm aloud, "I am the memory before time. I embody the intelligence of my origin. My DNA remembers, and I act from this knowing." Feel the resonance of these words settling into your body, mind, and consciousness. This is not symbolic, it is literal. Each time you repeat this recognition, you strengthen your connection to the intelligence that has always been you, reclaiming authority over your own consciousness and activating a frequency that cannot be overridden by external forces. Your journey has brought you through awakening, recognition, and integration. The next step is embodiment, the active, conscious living of pretemporal memory. Continue daily, continue observing, and continue expanding. Your DNA remembers, your consciousness is aligning, and with each moment of recognition, you step further into the intelligence and freedom that existed before time itself. As you continue embodying this pretemporal memory, you may notice subtle shifts in how reality responds to your presence. Opportunities appear with seemingly effortless timing, insights arrive without struggle, and challenges dissolve before they fully manifest. Your consciousness begins to move in harmony with the intelligence encoded within your DNA, naturally discerning the paths that serve your highest growth. Even the mundane becomes infused with sacred significance, as every interaction and experience reflects the deeper intelligence guiding you. This is the living proof that your DNA remembers, that your consciousness is no longer limited by time or circumstance, and that you are fully reclaiming the sovereignty of your being. If this knowledge resonates deeply with you, commit to daily practices of recognition and alignment. Share this teaching with others who are ready to awaken, and leave a comment below saying, "I remember." Your acknowledgement completes the energetic circuit and strengthens the collective resonance of awakened consciousness. The journey is yours. Step fully into it.